In our world, life is never truly a mystery. It is not a path we walk into the unknown, step by uncertain step. Instead, it is a beautiful, intricate tapestry woven by invisible hands. These are the scarlet strings of fate. They connect us all. A thin, shimmering red thread extends from each person's heart, reaching out across cities and over mountains to find another. This thread is a promise. It is the promise of a destined connection, a soulmate, a path laid out just for you. Most people cannot see these strings. They only feel their gentle, persistent pull, guiding them through life's many moments, both big and small, towards a future that was always meant to be. The world moves in a silent, graceful dance, orchestrated by these sacred, unbreakable bonds. Only a select few, the seers, are born with the gift to perceive this hidden reality. They see the vibrant crimson lines that crisscross the sky, a breathtaking web of love and destiny. For them, the world is a constant, beautiful reminder of connection and purpose. They watch as strangers on a busy street are drawn together by glowing threads, their futures intertwined long before they even exchange a single word. They see the quiet certainty in the threads, the assurance that no one is ever truly alone. To see the strings is to understand the fundamental truth of our existence, that we are all part of a grander design, a story written in scarlet ink across the canvas of the universe, each of us playing our part in a magnificent, preordained play. The strings represent comfort and security. They are the silent whisper that tells you everything will be all right, that your journey has a destination. Imagine knowing, with absolute certainty, that the person you are meant to be with is out there, waiting at the other end of an unbreakable thread. This knowledge brings a profound sense of peace. It removes the fear of loneliness, the anxiety of making the wrong choice. People build their lives around this certainty. They trust in the wisdom of the strings, allowing fate to guide their hearts without question. This complete faith has shaped our culture, our traditions, and our deepest beliefs about love and life itself. It is the bedrock upon which our society stands. And yet, what happens when this divine system fails? What becomes of a soul born without a thread? In a world defined by connection, to be without a string is to be without a destiny. It is to be a ghost in the grand tapestry, an anomaly, a blank space where a vibrant color should be. Such an existence is seen as a curse, a sign of being forsaken by the very forces that govern the world. To be stringless is to be adrift in a vast ocean of certainty, a solitary island in a sea of interconnected souls. This was the silent, heavy burden carried by a young girl named Arya, whose life began with an absence, a void where a brilliant scarlet thread was supposed to be. Arya grew up in a small, quiet village, nestled by a forest of whispering bamboo. From her earliest days, she was different. While other children chased each other, their futures invisibly tethered, Arya walked alone. The village seer had declared it years ago. The girl had no fate string. The words echoed through the community, branding her as an outcast. Parents would pull their children away as she passed, their eyes filled with a mixture of pity and fear. They called her the unstrung, the girl who cast no shadow in the world of fate. Her existence was a quiet, constant ache, a reminder of her own incompleteness in a world that celebrated connection above all else. She was a story with no ending, a song with no melody. Her only sanctuary was the small, weathered cottage she shared with her grandmother, a kind woman with eyes as old as the forest itself. Her grandmother was not a seer, but she possessed a different kind of wisdom. She never spoke of Arya's lack of a string as a curse. Instead, she taught Arya to find beauty in the small, untethered things, the way a single leaf could dance freely on the wind, unbound by any branch, or how a river could carve its own path through the earth. "Your path is not written for you, little one," she would say, her voice as soft as moss. "That does not mean you cannot walk. It means you are free to choose the direction." These words were Arya's only comfort against the weight of the world's judgment. Despite her grandmother's wisdom, loneliness was a constant companion. Arya would sit by her window for hours, watching the rain fall, imagining she could see the invisible threads connecting the people in the village. She wondered what it felt to be pulled towards someone, to know with your entire being that you were meant to be. She saw the easy smiles and gentle touches shared between destined pairs, and felt a profound, hollow emptiness inside her. She was a spectator to life's most beautiful dance, forever standing outside the ballroom, peering through a window at a celebration she was not invited to. Her heart longed for a connection she was told she could never have. This longing shaped her. It made her quiet, observant, and deeply empathetic. She learned to read the subtle emotions in people's faces, to understand the unspoken sadness or joy that lived behind their eyes. Because she was not distracted by the grand design of fate, she noticed the small fleeting moments of choice and chance that others overlooked. She saw the hesitation before a destined couple met, the flicker of doubt that crossed their faces. She began to wonder if fate was as simple as everyone believed. Her unique perspective, born from a place of deep sorrow and isolation, was slowly preparing her for a truth that would soon shatter the world's understanding of destiny itself. The day the world changed began like any other. The sky was a brilliant, cloudless blue. But for Arya, something was wrong. A strange humming pressure filled the air, a tension she could feel in her bones. Then it happened. Standing in the village market, she gasped as a shimmering red string connecting a young baker to his beloved suddenly turned brittle, like old glass. Before her very eyes it fractured and then snapped. A silent, agonizing scream seemed to echo in her soul. The two people who had been laughing just a moment before suddenly looked at each other with confusion, a sudden coldness replacing the warmth in their eyes. Arya had become a seer, but what she saw was not creation. It was destruction. Panic erupted within her. All around her she now saw the scarlet web, but it was fragile, flickering. More strings began to fray and snap. A happy elderly couple suddenly began to argue. A young man on his way to a proposal stopped in his tracks, his certainty vanishing like smoke. It was a plague upon fate itself, and only she could see it happening. Just as the chaos in her mind reached its peak, a figure emerged from the shadows of a nearby alley. They were clad in black, their face hidden behind a stark white mask painted with a broken red line. This was Cage no Kai, the Shadow of Ruin, a name that would soon be whispered in terror across the land. The figure raised a hand, and another fate string shattered. Cage no Kai believed fate was a prison. They saw the strings not as a promise of love, but as chains that stole free will. Their goal was to sever every connection, to liberate humanity by destroying the grand design. As Arya watched, paralyzed by this horrifying new sight, she saw Cage no Kai turn their masked face towards her. For a terrifying instant their eyes met. In that moment, Arya understood that her strange new ability was somehow linked to this agent of chaos. She wasn't just seeing the destruction, she was attuned to it. She was no longer the girl with no fate, she had become a witness to the end of fate itself. The world she had always felt excluded from was now crumbling before her eyes. Fleeing the village, Arya stumbled through the forest, her mind reeling. The sight of snapping strings was burned into her memory. Every broken thread felt like a wound in her own heart. The world was unraveling, and she was the only one who could see the stitches coming undone. The loneliness she had felt her entire life was suddenly replaced by a terrifying and overwhelming responsibility. She was no longer just the unstrung girl. She was now the unwilling keeper of a devastating secret. A secret that placed her at the very center of a conflict between the absolute certainty of fate and the terrifying chaos of unbridled freedom. Her journey had truly begun. In her desperate flight, Arya ran until her legs gave out, collapsing near an ancient weeping willow tree by a moonlit lake. It was there she met him. A boy named Ren sat by the water's edge, skipping stones across its silvery surface. When he turned to look at her, Arya's breath caught in her throat. He had a fate string, a brilliant, strong, and beautiful scarlet thread. But it did not stretch out towards a distant soulmate. Instead, its end was frayed, untethered, reaching out into the empty space around him, and as she drew closer, his string reacted to her presence. It swayed and reached for her, as if recognizing something in her that no one else ever had. Ren was also an anomaly. His string was destined for a girl who, according to the seers, was never born. He had spent his life tethered to a ghost, a promise that could never be fulfilled. In Arya, he found someone who understood his unique brand of loneliness. They were two sides of the same coin, the girl with no string and the boy whose string led to nowhere. Their bond was immediate and profound, not one of fate, but one of shared experience and understanding. For the first time, Arya did not feel cursed or invisible. In Ren's eyes, she saw not an absence but a possibility. Their connection was a quiet rebellion against the rules of destiny. As they journeyed together, hunted by the forces of Kaj no Kai, Arya's power grew. She discovered she could do more than just see the strings break. With focus, she could feel their texture, their strength. She learned she could mend the fraying threads, preserving the connections that Cage no Kai sought to destroy. But she also learned something more terrifying. She could hold a string in her hand and, if she chose, pull it apart herself. The power to create or destroy fate was literally in her hands. This placed an impossible choice before her. Should she protect the system that had shunned her? Or should she embrace the freedom offered by Cage no Kai, a freedom that would erase the pain of her past but plunge the world into chaos? Her decision was no longer just about herself. It was about Ren. If she restored fate, his string would remain tied to a phantom, and he would be destined to a life of solitude. If she helped destroy it, his string would vanish, and he would be free. But so would everyone else, their destined loves lost forever. Arya stood at a crossroads, the weight of countless lives resting on her shoulders. Her journey of self-discovery had led her to this point. She was no longer the unstrung girl defined by what she lacked. She was Arya, the girl who held destiny in her hands, forced to decide the meaning of fate, freedom, and love for everyone. The choice was hers alone,